weirdest one I probably looked up was I had a scene in a swingers club, and I tried to look up because I'd never been to a swingers club, so I was looking up what
Doug just lied on air.
No.
Welcome to the Two Authors Podcast, an entertaining chat show hosted by best-selling mystery and thriller authors Douglas Pratt and Nicholas Harvey, in lively, humorous and informative conversation with distinguished guests who share their thoughts and experience about forging a successful author career.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Doug, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
Peachy.
How's your finger?
My finger, yeah. For those of you listening, I managed to trap my finger in a ladder on a dive boat and a swing down ladder and tugged my fingernail off, which I confessed immediately.
I think you stuck your finger someplace it's not supposed to go, like in a shark or something, right?
Well, it was definitely not supposed to be in the hinge of the swing down ladder, as it turns out. So, yes, you're correct. It was somewhere it shouldn't be. But believe me, it is, if anyone wondered what it feels like to have your fingernail pulled off, I definitely confess to everything immediately.
I know. Every time we talk about it, it makes me a little nauseous just to think about it. So I'm like, I'm good. I'd confess before you can get there.
Every time I look at it makes me a little nauseous, to be honest. So it's somewhat under control. Cheryl's doing a good job of wrapping it each day, but it's my index finger on my right hand, which happens to be the one finger I use for just about everything I do in life. It's very hard to not knock it on things. So
I bet your typos this week have been outrageous, right? So
the biggest thing is the mouse click. So if you think about it, you use your index finger for the left mouse click. And now the bandage that we currently have around it seems to, when I try to left mouse click, it right mouse clicks because it's so fat, the bandage around it.
That's the problem I have with my fat fingers anyway. I just push a button and anything will happen. So.
Yeah, you hit multiple keys. Yeah, and definitely because I'm a hunt and peck anyway, typist. I've never learned to type properly. So now I'm typing with my I'm typing with my middle finger. Yeah. So I keep hitting the key to the right of the one that I'm supposed to hit. So yeah, it's typos all over the place.
It's kind of like when you ever get a new computer that the keyboard is just differently sized enough that you start typing and everything gets off. And you be typing along, not looking, and you look down and go, oh, there's a ton of parentheses in here. Something like that.
I do it if I sit off center with my keyboard. If I sit down and I've got the keyboard sitting just a little off center, everything's one key off. Yeah.
It's just all this little bit wacky at that point. So, yeah.
Yeah. You'd think I would learn to type properly over the years, doing about 1 million words a year. You'd think I'd figure out how to actually type, but I still don't.
You'd think you'd figure something like that. Yeah. It wouldn't be hard. So I did. I took it in high school. Miss Brewer, she taught us how to type, which is why I still double space, because the poor lady is probably gone to her grave, and I feel like I owe her the double space for.
You owe her the double space.
I owe her the double space.
Cool. Well, the show, as always, is brought to you by Vellum. And,
that's right.
I was just going through I was doing some updates. Well, I just did the new covers on the Nora series. So I was going through and making sure that I had all the accessibility descriptions filled out, which they make super easy. So if you have an image in there, it's easy to click on it and it'll put the title in there automatically of that image. But you can go in there and type what it is. So for folks that are hard of sight, they have various systems that read these to them. And you can put in there what it is. So if it's your cover, you can say, hey, it's a purple cover with a unicorn jumping over a rainbow, as I'm just referencing one of your covers, Doug.
Absolutely. That's my best-selling book right there, too.
Best-selling book right there, under a pen name. So great feature from our wonderful friends at Vellum right there. And a big thank you to our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for supporting us. If you think you get value from the show, jump on over to Patreon. Follow the show for a couple of bucks a month. You can support us and get a ton of extra bonus questions and what have you. God, man, we're building a huge library of stuff in there, huh?
I know. I got to go ahead and add a few more things today for tomorrow's release. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So cool. All right. We'll get on to our guest in a moment. Luke Richardson, Amazon best-selling thriller author, archaeological thrillers and detective thrillers. Great guy from the UK. But first of all, we have a listener question from Dan Wood of Drafted Digital, who was on the show the other week. Dan Wood from Drafted Digital, thank you for sticking around and firing a listener question at us. I'm scared, but go ahead. What do you got?
Well, my question for y'all is, and especially I think this is one you've probably gotten before conferences. And so I think some of your listeners might, not all of them get to go to conferences. So my question that I hear every author asking is, what are you doing this next year to take your business to the next level?
Good question.
I'm going to start by putting my books in libraries.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good one. I'm definitely, since we interviewed you, that's on my list to do. I think for me, it's interesting how, for me, my writing career has gone. It's been a steady climb as I put out more books and grow. But I did have a year that stepped up considerably. And it was when I managed to get Facebook ads kicking on one of my series, and it really worked. And then that has faded in this year. So we're talking 2024 was a big growth year for me. 2025 has been a pretty static year for me mainly because the Facebook ads haven't worked. And I've shifted a lot of focus away from Facebook ads because it seems so hit and miss. And looking back now on doing more with Amazon ads and an expanded version of Amazon ads. And I'm working with a group and I'm putting quite a lot of effort and funding into pursuing that to try and grow. One of the things I feel quite strongly about with Amazon, and especially if you're a KU author like I am, is its snowball effect. So the whole Amazon system is built around this, whether you're selling toothpicks, stereos, or books. It's designed to give the buyer what they want. And so if you sell more, that's what the buyer wants. Therefore, they show it more. And there is a large amount of momentum that builds in the Amazon sphere when you grow. And, same as we all see, our Amazon ads do way better when we have a release, right? Because we have more relevance on there and grow. So my main focus on growth is in that area. How about you, Doug?
Well, I'm kind of be similar, but also I want to do some other things after talking to a few people at Author Nation and Inc., mainly like Franklin, our good friend Franklin Horton, and Willow Winters also. Like, we own these IPs that are ours. We need to be able to do more than just, obviously this year has been a lot of translations, but I want to be able to do a little bit more other things. Franklin is loading, he's done tons of merch. So does Willow. These are the things that they're looking for other ways to market their books. And I just had a reader reach out to me and say, you should have patches, which has already been on my agenda to do anyways, some more merch, because he's like, I've already bought all your books, but I'd like to buy something else. So remembering that we have fans that are willing to buy some of the junk, some of the stuff that we have. I don't want to be my main focus because obviously writing the words are going to be it, but coming up with other avenues that we can get, because, there's always that little fear in the back of your head that what if Amazon boots me off? I can always go wide. That's easy to do with Drafted Digital, but you got to build that audience up again. And a lot of that is in one area. So I want to start looking for other ways to offset. If I have a low year with Amazon, maybe I'm making it up somewhere else. And so I'm looking at a little bit more direct store stuff, a little more definitely refocusing some advertising stuff, but just looking at what other things I can do to build up that audience and get more visibility.
Maximize the IP, right?
Yeah, maximize the IP.
Yeah, Christine Catherine Rush has been preaching, and as well as Joanna Penn, for a better part of a decade now, about you need to stop thinking of it as a book and start thinking of it as an IP and as multiple products, because it's going to be the book in English, the ebook, the print book, the large print book, the audiobook. It can be merch. It can be a little bit of everything. And, we all have friends now that have succeeded and made money off of like weird different things that we wouldn't have expected. Like I love talking to Franklin about all the different success he's having with his merchandise.
Oh, Franklin's got so much. Yeah, he has so many different things that he's come up with. I'm like,
Franklin knows his audience. With the products he comes up with, shivs.
All he does is shape that toothbrush into a point, and that's it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. No, there's a lot of things out there, and if you can think about doing it, I mean, I think the other side is, and this is one of the things that my wife and I've discussed as we're discussing what our business plan is also not to overwhelm ourselves with a ton of things. So it's like a little bit here. We're going to slowly build it, because the other concern is we've got a lot going on, keeping the books going. I've started a Patreon. I'm going to keep that going. We do the podcast. So there's a lot already. We're juggling a lot of balls. We don't need to throw a whole lot more in there. So you want to do it in increments, I guess, is a better way of of looking at it.
Yeah, pick your direction, right? That you think you're going to get best bang for the buck. So
I know with like what Nick was saying at the beginning, like one thing that I always try to caution authors about is it's incredibly unusual for any creative industry for your trajectory to just go up, for it to be kind of a long linear line. It's much more likely going to be like a roller coaster. It's going to be up and down because there's so many things you don't have control over. You don't have control over the algorithms at Amazon. You don't have control over changes Facebook might make to how ads work. You don't have control over weird things that explode in popularity. Like at the very beginning of Draft to Digital, we were profitable within a few months because of essentially 50 Shades of Grey came out. There was a huge need in the market. People wanted more exactly like that. And traditional publishers, their whole system really couldn't deliver a book for 3 or 4 years at that point, following something like that. And we had indie authors that could write them quickly and well. And so it was huge for us. But then things settled down. You can't count on those trends to always keep your business going. But the more books you have out there, the more lottery tickets you have to ride those trends when they do come along.
Great question. Thanks again, Dan, for sticking around from Draft to Digital. And anyone wants to find a good way of distributing their books wide, Draft to Digital is the place to go. Thank you. Luke Richardson, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. How are you both?
Oh, we're doing great. It's great to have you too. So,
yeah. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for working out the international time zones here. As you're coming from the UK, I'm still in Australia. Doug's in the third world country of Tennessee, so we managed to stitch it all together.
Yes, that's what it is.
And all the Tennessee listeners just turned off.
I was going to say, I apologize to all of them. And you know what? Luke's co-writing with Ernie Dempsey, who's also a Tennessee. This is, you're trashing on all the Tennessee people.
You're supporting my theory.
You know what? Dave Behrens is also our guy, and he's. I'm going to tell him, watch out on your covers.
All right, so. I apologize, Dave, and to everyone else in Tennessee except for Ernie and Doug. Hey, Luke, tell us a little bit about how you got started in writing and when you were first published.
Sure, yeah. So I was a high school English teacher for about the best part of 10 years.
Very brave man.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And it was one of those where I loved it until I didn't. And then I really didn't like it very much.
And then 9 years later, you decided to
My first wife said something like that.
That's every teacher I've ever met. They love it for the first year. And then after that, it's just straight downhill.
Yeah. Do you know what? It was good fun. I've always loved sort of creative pursuits. I've always been one who loves sort of inventing things and making things up. To start with, that was in music. I was involved in that. And the first few years of teaching were very much like that, because it's like, how's best to do this? How's best to sort of do that? But then after I sort of got over that creative element and it was just teaching the same stuff again and again and again, except the students change because they grow older, obviously, I was a bit like, this doesn't quite interest me so much.
Except for Doug. Doug stayed in the same class.
Well, maybe if I'd been his teacher, he would have done it.
Probably, yes. It's...
Yeah, so, and then I'd written a book in 2018. Well, I started writing my first book, Kathmandu Killers, it's now called, in 2018. Published that springtime 2019, so it took quite a long time. And then nothing happened, as usual.
That's fair.
When you write your first book. And I wrote another one, and after a while, I remember just thinking, this is harder work than I thought it was going to be. This is tough. And then I realized actually that if I wanted it to be a job, I couldn't do both. If I wanted it to be a job, if I wanted it to be my profession, I needed to give it the space and the time for it to be a profession. So I typed out this resignation letter. I was really nervous about this, big jump. I didn't know how it was going to go. Took it to the headmaster, gave it to the head teacher of the school. And he was like, oh, Luke, sorry to lose you, whatever. I said, yeah, it's the right thing to do. The next day, the school closed with the COVID lockdowns. So I had 6 months, from the point at which I had resigned to when I was actually going to leave. Because in teaching, I assume it's the same all over the world, but I don't know. You leave sort of at the end of the school year. So I had 6 months where I didn't go to work because the school was closed. And I thought I was getting paid for it. So I thought, right, this is the opportunity to sort of get the words down. And I'd like to say that by the end of that point, I was making loads of money. I wasn't, but I'd produced another couple of books. I knew a little bit more and so on and so forth. And then I sort of started doing a bit of freelance work and whatever else you need to do in the interim. And it was about a year ago, or maybe a little longer, that I finally sort of left that behind and have gone full time, just the writing, paying the bills, which is, it's a miracle, guys. You know this. You know, it feels like an absolute miracle. And I'm grateful for it every day.
Yeah, it's the best job you've ever had, I'm sure, too. Like that's the way I feel about it. So it is awesome. So yeah.
I started during the COVID period, seriously as well. So it was as awful as COVID was, as we sort of 2 years missing from all of our lives, but and such awful things happened. But it did spawn opportunity for a lot of creatives. So that's good.
I quit and went full time 2 months before everything shut down. So I could have waited 2 months and then had that 6 months paid. But instead I was like, no, I'm going to quit ahead of time and totally jack it all up. So yeah,
that's funny, wasn't it? That even though this is the first time we've connected sort of face to face, although online, at almost the same time, we were having similar thoughts and similar situations that we were all in. Sort of, what was that?
I think a lot of people took advantage of the, if you were in the, and I've been published since 2011, but I went full time in 2020. But I think a lot of people took advantage of that, stuck at home doing nothing to write some books. We saw a big influx of them come out. So some really good ones, and then some stuff like Nick and I write. So,
hey. All right. So Luke, you write archaeological thrillers and set all around the world, and you're an avid traveler. How did traveling initially inspire what you were going to write?
Oh, it's a good question. It's so central to it. I remember it vividly at the moment that it occurred to me that I had to write because of travel. And it was 2011 when I went to India for the first time. And I've shared this many times, so apology if you've heard me somewhere else and I've told this story before. But it was the sun was just coming up as I arrived in Mumbai. And it's the first time I'd been out of Europe. So it was quite an eye-opening thing. And I remember the taxi ride out of the airport in this tiny little taxi that looked like it was held together with string, past what was at that point the biggest slum, I think in India, or maybe even in the world or something, I don't know. But you're going down this motorway, this freeway, 6 or 8 lanes, whatever, traffic whizzing past. And there's people living in huts beside the motorway, pulling aside the tarpaulin curtain that blocks off their house from the world and stepping out there right onto the edge of the road. There's kids playing and goats and painted cows and sports cars and tractors and these trucks that are painted brightly, buses sort of stacked high with luggage on the roof. And I remember just that sort of sense of wonder and that sense of excitement and that sense of like, there's a whole damn world out there, that's different from my life, people doing different things and living in exciting ways. And I think something about that was like a little earworm. Something like that was a little earworm that just sat in my sort of brain thinking, there's stories to tell. There's excitement to share with people. There's places that people you want to be shown. And so that's sort of my why. That's sort of what I want to achieve in my books, as well as them being fun, as well as them being exciting, as well as the pages turning themselves and all of those things we aspire to. That sense of wonder and excitement is sort of my North Star.
Do you plan some of your travel like according to what's your upcoming story, or do you? Let me rephrase this to you. Do you ever go, I'd like to go here, let me see if I can write a story about this place?
Yes and no. It happens both ways. The second to last book I did, called The Lotus Key, is set in Angkor Wat in Cambodia. Now, I knew I wanted to write that, and I had some pretty good ideas as to what that story might involve before we went to see it. So going there was really just a confirmation of like, yeah, that's there. So how long will it take me to get to that other place where I think the other scene should be? And picking up on some of those sensory details, the smell of the incense in the temples, or the sound of, are there really sort of livestock kept near the temple? Is it really difficult to get in at night? Is there, what are the things here? Are there really guards posted at these areas, or whatever you might sort of make reference to in the book? And then just after releasing that, this time last year, my wife and I went to Marrakesh in Morocco. And I just had an idea there. I was like, that's brilliant. So that spawned the next book without me even knowing it was coming. And I was a bit like, I'm going to give myself a bit of a break here. I'm not going to get straight onto the next book. But when you do that,
how do so none of us do that. We always like, I need to do this, but then I'm already like, but I got this next book to go ahead and jump on. I've got these ideas that just percolate, too many of them. So
I get a panic in the back of my mind if I even take a few days away from not writing something or planning something. It's like there's a panic that takes over. Like I've got to be getting something down. So you use location like a character in your books. What's your kind of guide? Do you have a sort of checklist, or is it a kind of a natural thing to put that location in? You just talk as you were describing the places, both places as you described them, the smells, the what you see when you come, what it looks like at night, that kind of thing. You're very vivid about it. So is that something that comes naturally to you, or do you have a checklist of things that you like to include in every book?
I don't have a checklist. I'm not organised enough for such things, which I probably won't surprise you.
Nope, same.
But I do sort of try and hit various points, I think, in describing different elements, different senses, and then tying them into the story. This is a key point. This is a difficult thing, because what you don't want is you're reading a section and all of a sudden it's like, pause the story whilst I describe these irrelevant details about the place. This isn't a guidebook. We've got to be absolutely clear that this isn't a guidebook.
Yes, you want to be able to deliver it within the narrative so that it keeps the story moving. I think you're right. So here's a question I got to ask, because I was going through your character, your protagonist, Eden Black, is English, and so are you, obviously. In case anybody didn't pick up on the thing, but you choose to write in U.S. English, and so I'm curious. One, like why would you do that? And what can we do to get Nick to do it too? Because every time I write with him, he's putting U's in color. So
it's a good question. For me, it was quite simply a sort of a marketing thing, but it was more than that. It's like producing a book that's like I compare myself to, Dan Brown, Clive. Gosh, you shouldn't. That's massive, isn't it? You know what I mean?
No, compare yourself. There's nothing wrong with that.
I want my book on the shelf next to Dan Brown,
absolutely.
Clive Cussler, Ernie, who we've talked about. You guys, Nick Thacker, Kevin.
No, hold on, back off on Thacker. We're gonna rewind you on Thacker there. So Dempsey's one thing, but Nick Thacker's a whole nother.
You
one.
had the bar. You started with Dan Brown. You mentioned us, which is a big step down, and then you threw Thacker in there, which is like dropping off a cliff. Hi, Nick.
As if Nick's licking it. No, we do love Thacker. No, he's a good friend, so we like to tease him.
And this will be a check to see whether he listens to the show, because we'll get emails now.
Yeah. But my point remains is that I want a reader of any of those books to open one of mine and not have the clash and not have the difference. And I don't actually think that British readers care. Ultimately, I think that they're used to it. They're probably more used to it than American readers are in terms of the content of the book. So I don't think it matters so much.
I think that's a really valid point. So I write two of my series in UK English because I'm originally from the UK and they're set on a UK island. So I chose to write them in UK English. But then the co-write with Doug that I write in US English because it kind of makes sense to do that with the location. The first one was
I barely write in US English, so trying to switch over to British English would be a whole nother thing.
Yes. That would be the other thing.
I mumble in.
I just be putting in words. He'd be like, "What is this?" I'm like, "I don't know."
I don't know. It sounded British. He does that sometimes. He puts in what he thinks is British cuss words.
I know Nick's got to fix them. I'm like, whatever, it's
yeah.
all right.
He just throws a word in there. It's like marmalade comes up. It's like, why did you say marmalade in the middle of the sentence?
Right, like, well, marmalade.
Yeah, say it with a British accent, and it sounds like it's an insult.
You can make anything sound like I can make it dirty too. So we can. You should read my smut when I talk about marmalade. It's a whole.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my newer series, which is set in Southern California, I decided I would write in US English because it seemed like the setting. So it's interesting for me. I think you made a good decision. I don't think it's a bad decision. I think your point about UK readers, I've never had a UK reader complain that I wrote a book in US English, and I have had US readers complain about these UK words in this book. That annoy them.
Did you get a review like one time about somebody telling you spelled it wrong? Yeah.
It said it's so British That was
So
the guy. The
British,
review said, "Yeah, beware, it's so British."
Yeah, that was me, by the way. I'm the one that left the reviews. So. I'm like, this would be all right if it wasn't so British.
A little bit's all right.
A little bit's all right.
Yeah, but you're just too much.
It's like way too much. Like, yeah, I'm just saying. Even Charles Dickens kind of pulled it back a little bit. So.
No, you're right. You're right. It's but it's a difficult decision, isn't it? But the problem is, Nick, once you've done the first book, it's a right job to go and change it, isn't it? You've just got to stick with the series,
That would be jarring. It's like
indeed.
having to switch narrators on your audiobooks, It's a jarring experience for people.
But it is also a challenge because there are things that I want to say, but the character, as you've pointed out, is English. So if she describes the place in the back of the car where you put things, right? You know what we're talking about. Nick would call it one thing, Doug would call it something. But that's what the character would say. But because I'm writing in American English, I have to say, well, what would she say? Because I can't change her speech because that's her. But I can change like the narrator's voice because that's sort of different. You know what I mean? So it has its own challenges.
I do. Cat Cromwell, she says stuff in an English way. So it's the only part of it. So if it's in speech, she would say boot.
And our co-writing, which we have a good time in our co-writing pieces, because his character that he's writing is British, mine is American, and we tend to make fun of each other's in the dialogue, which is great. Like, his character will say something, and she'll be like, "What? This is what we pissed." That was the one that I think we had the best time with when we talk about being pissed, and he's like, "What?" Okay, so I'm got a question. You're dealing with all the kind of history and facts that you do when you're writing these stories. Like, how much do you blend the fact and history with fiction to make the story more entertaining?
Yeah, I think the story is king, right? That's something I think we do well to remember and sort of forget at our peril, isn't it? And that comes for locations, that comes for history, that comes for whatever. The story is its own thing. It needs to drive the plot. But of course, you put in that history as much as you can. I try to get it as correct as I possibly can, right? Because it's important to me to do that. And I think it's important to the people who, particularly because I'm not just dealing with history, I'm dealing with someone else's history quite often. Do you know what I mean? People who are from that place, who are of that culture, are rightfully very proud of that,
Yeah, you want to make sure you're paying homage to them and treating them with respect. And at the same time, sometimes you have to take a little literary license, like, we're not actually going to find the Ark of the Covenant in in the mapper rooms, but it's.
But here's a question. This is something that's happened to me. I've always thought, wouldn't it be good if this was the way it went down at some historical period, and I've written it and then looked it up and found out that was actually the thing that happened or has happened.
Wow, yeah.
Oh, wow. Huh.
And I'm like, wow, that's a real legend. Maybe it's not necessarily like the mainstream thing, because obviously my books they go down the Indiana Jones sort of vibe. There's an element of truth, but we spin it, we play with it, and we say what could happen, what could have been possible.
You know who I thought said it best when they talked about doing that was Clive Cussler, and he talked about in his, I guess it's kind of an autobiography or a memoir that he wrote. I was reading one time, and it was, he's basically, he approaches a story of what if, and so he was talking about raise the Titanic. What would you have to do to make raising the Titanic so important that you had to do it because it's such an expense, and so they had to put something on there to make it worthwhile. And he just talks about how he blended the stories with blended his story with what the truth was, so that he could find the middle ground there. So
that's true. I like that. Although, of course, he wrote that book before the Titanic was discovered.
But yes, he was. He did. Yeah. So.
Which puts another twist on it, because of how many bits it's in. You couldn't ever raise it in the way he said you could.
Right, yeah, you could never do it at all. So he had no idea what he was looking at, which is interesting. Like, that's, he's done with a few things like that one.
The best stories, historical stories to work with, are the ones that don't have much information about them, right? Not much is known. So there's a wreck in Grand Cayman called the Oro Verde, and there's very little known about it. Lots of rumor, very little fact, but it has an interesting background. So I wrote a story based off of that, because you don't know.
You can do what you want to with it, yeah.
Yeah, you really could do what you want to. There's tons of rumor that it was shipping, marijuana, and there's this legend that they burnt the officials took the marijuana, took it to the end of the island downwind and burnt it, and the wind changed and got the whole island high. So these little elements like that are these little legends about the wreck. but it was abandoned on the island. Like the crew just abandoned it and left it, and it was quite a big cargo ship. So that's like ripe stuff like that. I think is really fun to work with, because no one can say that. Well, that didn't happen. Well, how do you know? No one knows.
Yeah. They don't know. It's all out there. So.
Yeah. So, okay, quick. Let's talk about Eden Black a little bit, because I write female protagonists. So this is a question I love to ask other authors, male authors who write female protagonists. What do you find the challenges of writing a female protagonist? What's been the most difficult part for you?
That's a good question. I don't think there's any more challenges than writing a male protagonist, actually. I don't feel like there's any difference in terms of like how to humanize someone, because I deal with, I'm not writing literary fiction, I suppose is the point here. I'm writing action adventure where we're dealing with things that are universal challenges. Now, of course, there is within the book the classic, the actual plot that's going on, but then there are all these other things that are going on around. You know, she's a bit of an outsider, so she sort of deals with that. She's sort of unsure about her family situation. There's a romantic line of will they, won't they that I've been teasing for about 7 books and hasn't gone anywhere. You know, so I'm dealing with these things that I feel are universal. So I'm dealing it from a human point of view rather than like a female or male point of view. That's the best way I can sort of explain it. Of course, it would be different if I were writing a coming of age novel, you know, from someone who's really different from myself. That would be challenging in a different way. But I think for the books that I write, that's not the focus of the book. I think it's as good as, I don't think it would be different if I was a different gender.
What led the decision to have a female protagonist? Was that a marketing, just looking at the marketplace?
No, it wasn't. I just thought it was more interesting, actually. I looked around at the market and saw what people were doing and read a lot of interesting books in the space. And I just thought that sort of, I just found that more appealing. That she isn't the natural sort of military washed up hero that's sort of pulled reluctantly back into this thing.
He's poking at me over here. I don't know.
I see another one of those. And
I know. God, don't worry. Yeah, it's just whatever. Although you female protagonists are so big right now, everybody's got one. So you are going to become pretty. Me having a white male guy is going to be like, oh, that's just unusual.
I know. Yeah, true.
Yeah, but Luke and I can say, hey, we've been doing this since the beginning.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's why I think I wouldn't have done it just to follow other people's idea, because book writing is such a laborious process, isn't it? That, you know, it's taken me 2022, I published the Arc Files, which is the first one in this series. So it's taken me 3 years to do 6. And anything could have changed in that time. And if I hadn't enjoyed that process and that hadn't been fulfilling of its own thing, you know, it would have been almost pointless, wouldn't it? You know, because the mood changes and everyone's interested in something else.
I think as long as you're enjoying it, your reader's going to enjoy it. If you stop enjoying it, they're going to feel it down the wind. The product's going to be, you know, not as good. So let's kind of shift a little bit on brand. Like you have a pretty strong brand. You do well with connecting with your readers. What are you doing to drive readers to your email list?
It's a good question. Because there's loads of different things that people are doing, isn't there? And different people recommend different things. Now, what I do...
And we want to try all of them at some point.
Yeah, well, you're like
Doug wants to try all of them at some point.
You're like this one then, Doug, because what I do is don't really think think it. Right, I have a.
That's his favorite.
That's his favorite. Like whatever, just fuck them. They'll find their way here if they want to. So,
because ultimately, if they like the book, there's an advert in the back of the book, and actually, I put one in the front now. So there's an advert in the front and back of the book that says, "I would love to thank you personally for buying this book. Here's the link if you want to, if you're interested in joining my Adventurous Society. It's called Adventure Society. Join it. Here you go." And that's it. What I don't want is to encourage people on there who aren't interested in the books. So them buying the book and then reading the book sort of pre-selects them for someone who is useful. Useful, that's not the wrong term. Someone who is going to enjoy the content that I share on my newsletter. You know, there's no point sharing a link on sort of random Facebook pages or putting it in someone else's newsletter or any of these things, I think, because you're just getting the wrong people on there that aren't interested in you and what you talk about.
True. Yeah. I've stolen I guess I've been doing it for 18 months, 2 years now almost. I've been doing bonus content in the back of the books. So again, you're capturing someone that just finished reading your book, and this has been one of those well-known secrets in the romance world for donkey's years, and I only learned about it a couple of years ago. But you do the bonus content, and they click over that. They have to join your newsletter to get that bonus content. You just vary up what the bonus content is. That's been really successful for me. And
yeah, in fact, that's been my project today. My project today has been writing my bonus chapter for the long shot that I just finished up. So
does that chapter follow the book itself, or is it a chapter that
don't do that? don't do that, because
I treat it like Marvel, like how Marvel movies at the end of the movie, there's that bonus scene after the credits. It doesn't affect the storyline. It doesn't affect how it ended, but it's just a little bonus bit that like carries on but it doesn't matter. Every time there's only one reader who's like, "Oh, this is just you trying to get my email." And I was like,
"Yeah, I had to join your newsletter list to finish the book." It's like, no, it's a bonus piece.
It's a bonus,
but
if you're going to complain about it, just join it, and I'll move you off. So, because like you said, but yeah, no, I do think that, like Nick said, that's been the most effective as far as getting organic drives. Because for a long time, having been published since 2011, that's what we did early on, is just drop that link in the back, and you'd get one out of every 1,000 follow you. But this kind of bumped it up a little bit more. Even me as an avid reader, it took about 6 books before I ever, and 3 years of working with Nick before I ever signed up for his newsletter. So I needed a better.
And he's still unsubscribed.
I keep spamming it. I keep hitting spam on it to see.
No, you're right. And I have tried that actually, but that was a couple of books ago, so maybe I should try it more consistently.
I mean, it does well. I also try to just from me, and I don't know, Nick doesn't try to do the same thing, I don't think, but each one sends it to a separate list on so I know who's reading which books at that point, and hopefully they'll bounce around. I can get an idea which way I'm going. So.
Yeah, for remarketing purposes. So let's talk about social media for a minute before we wrap up. What's your favorite social media to connect with your readers, and as a second question to this, which social media do you think is the most effective at actually selling books, not just reaching people?
It's a good question. I don't know how well I'll be able to answer the second one, because I've just stuck with Facebook for all these years. Now, I did try very, very briefly, had a try with TikTok. And when I say Facebook, it does post over to Instagram as well, although I don't find people really join there. I've had the same number of followers for forever, I think. And so Facebook for me has seemed to be the most effective. Now, I don't think it's particularly useful at getting someone to buy that first book. But what I think it probably is useful in is keeping them engaged whilst I'm messing around on the beach in Morocco writing the next book. There's posts that go up. I've got a whole list of them now. I've made all these posts, and they just go regularly, 2 a day or something, just sort of cycles through. So because Facebook's reach is so poor, actually, that for you to be on there, you won't see the same thing more than once, because only, there's 10,000 people on that page, but it only shows it to about 90 people each time I post something.
And it's not the people you'd think.
Right. And there are a lot of people who see it that aren't even subscribed. So there you go. But I think that just helps keep people sort of in the loop. That helps people think, oh, he's still out there. He's still doing something. He's still working on the next book. This is a cool idea, and whatever that might be. I've heard people having great times on TikTok and these sorts of things. But as I say, I haven't managed to make that work yet.
Well, I'm testing that one right now, and it's doing my reach is not too bad, but it's a slow build, and it just takes your time to do it. So we'll see how it builds up. So
I wonder, I do suspect the readers of my book are slightly older than the average TikToker.
That's okay. So that's my demographic's probably the same way, but I think so. I've been marketing it a little differently on TikTok, because in the holidays, I've been marketing it as these are things you're like, I call them dad books. These are the dad books that your dad would like. So if you need to buy a book for your dad, your uncle, your cousin, whatever, then hey, these are the books right up their alley. And all these TikTok kids are going to get old, and they're going to want to read our old people stuff at some point.
I like that. You're posting now for 10 years time.
Well, I mean, I think there's
someone will see this post and
someone will see it.
They'll remember it in 10 years.
Hey, I should still be out there writing in 10 years. So those guys will be like, oh yeah. So
I know what you mean, and I'm certain it could work. I think the thing is with social media is the best thing is to pick one and do that. It's definitely master of one trade rather than jack of all, because you just miss the boat on all of them and burn yourself out posting all these times, making all this content and not actually write anything.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I do think that a lot of people who get so overwhelmed. Like I see a lot of people with one or two books who are like, all I can do is I'm just marketing all the time on TikTok, and I'm like, maybe you'd be better spent writing book 3 or book 2, as opposed to trying to figure that out, like you say. So you can get overwhelmed with all of it.
So what do you find is your most marketing medium? Are you doing Facebook ads, Amazon ads? Where do you focus?
Now,
I see his Facebook ads all the time because they pop up on my feed. Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's good. Do you click on them? Lots of times. You're like,
I haven't done yours. I do Nick's every time I see him. I just go click. I want to make sure I rack that bill up for him.
Click back.
Yeah.
Well, I can't even see his posts. Like you talk about the whenever he posts, I'll be like 6 days, and then his post will pop up on my screen. I'm like, as close as we're connected. You think? And my wife, she posted something the other day, and it came up 5 days later. I was like, I didn't know you posted that. It's like,
yeah, but my wife, people tag me on their personal pages. They tag my business page, and Facebook never shows me that was tagged over there. I never know. Yeah, so it's really so Facebook ads. Talk about that a little bit.
I started off, as a lot of authors do, just trying everything. And, book club, put my credit card in there. That'll work. You try that for a week and nothing happens. And then try Amazon and then Facebook and whatever. And about 2 or 3 years ago, I thought, right, this is getting nuts now. This is getting silly. I need to just choose one and get good at that. Because ultimately, I'm not claiming to be an expert marketer, right? I'm an expert writer, and I need to know a little bit about marketing as well. So I just thought one of them done okay is good enough, rather than all of them done badly or all of them done supposedly well. So I did that. I've got this very, very simple strategy that's like attribution link, put to the ad, done like that. It does the broad marketing thing. And then I just mess around with various different ad creatives and whatever. And then just turn them off if they work. And sorry, not that way around. Leave them on if they work. Turn them off if they don't.
Right. And you're doing broad audience.
That's right. Yeah. So US.
Which you
UK,
don't have much
whatever.
Choice now.
Yeah. But also I just felt like the simplest way, do this in the simplest way possible, And ultimately you go into Facebook, the advertising dashboard is made to look confusing, isn't it? It's made to look complicated.
Like this by design, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm 100%. Do you want to spend £500 clicking this button and testing this new thing that we've invented?
So have you found a change in the Facebook ads performance over the last 12 months?
They change all the time. Week on, week off, week on, week off. There's never a week that's the same. And I did when people started saying about these algorithm shifts and whatever, I went back to last year and just to confirm my suspicions that the only change has been that it's never been the same.
That's fair.
No, do you know what I mean? Every week is different. There's often a really bad week and then a really good week. This time of year I find quite strange because I think you're working harder there's more people advertising, right? And also there's more people are doing less reading because they're busy and they're not on their Kindles as much. So that can mess with things. People might buy it, download it on KU, but not even open it for 2 months until January rolls around or whatever. So I think there's also the element of you need to do it and you sort of have faith that in the fullness of time you'll get the results you'll be able to see what the results are.
Or Facebook will just keep taking your money.
I was going to say, I had that faith, but so far...
Yeah. Give it time. It's going to come around. Nope. He
sounds like that guy still trying to sell me ads not that long. Oh, no, just keep paying and it will be all right. So.
Yeah. The algorithm will figure it out.
Luke's working on a new ad strategy where he's going to sell ads.
Guys, if you
just let Luke put all your money on red and just wait long enough, it'll turn up.
if you just click this link and pay me $5,000, I'll do nothing.
I'll get the same results you were getting for you. All right, this has been brilliant, Luke. We got a couple of questions to wrap this up. One question that we always ask all our author guests is, what do you think your author's superpower is?
As I should have heard this on a previous podcast, shouldn't I?
This is our
Yeah, we just busted you. You've never listened to a show before.
Well, not right to the end, clearly.
Yeah. Well, no one listens to the end.
He's like, halfway through, these guys are boring. Yeah, so,
no
fair.
one really listens to the show to the end.
He was probably listening to Nick Backer's show. That's why.
That's a good question. And I'm going to say this because this is what a lot of people tell me, which I think is a lovely thing to say. And they say that my books transport the reader to the place that they're set, which is an absolute compliment. And I always, whenever someone says that, I'm always really, I'm always really honoured that they've felt that and that they've sort of come with me on that journey.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's perfectly on brand. It's a very good answer. All right. So we have a wheel of questions we're going to spin.
Our wheel of questions.
Oh, wow. That's
amazing. If you listen to all the way through, you would know about, but since you haven't, we already know. This question will be wild and random, so. Is it great? I don't know about that, but it's
it was great for the first 3 weeks, and now Doug hates it.
That's not that bad. It's just a little wobbly now.
Do you make that yourself, Doug?
I did by my good friend Amazon actually made it for me and shipped it to me for like next to nothing, and it was doing great. But it's traveled with me to a couple of conferences and got beat up a little bit along the way, and it's always going. Anyway, our question is, and this is I think a good one because we can all three probably answer this one. What is your most surprising or strangest research rabbit hole you've fallen into? I
feel as though I need to talk about the book that I just released, which is coincidental actually, because that's sort of still in my mind. Where and this I mentioned it earlier. I went to Marrakesh and I saw this thing, and it inspired this book. Now we went into this 14th century madrasa, which is an Arabic Islamic university, and they've got on the walls these tiles, and the tiles are in this amazing pattern that never repeats. It's called quasi-crystalline. The pattern is. And it was done by these Islamic scholars just using, with obviously no computers because it was done in the 14th century. They just sort of made it up themselves. In the 70s, this guy invented, for the first time ever, a non-repeating pattern called a quasi-crystalline structure for the first time in the 1970s, and I just thought that there's this wonderful disconnect between the ancient Arabic world, that this pattern made by guys and rulers and whatever they used to glue these tiles on the walls had beaten Western science by 650 years. And these people had invented this thing all of this time later in the labs in Cambridge University or wherever they happen to be working. And I just thought, that's a great twist to the story, that it's almost like that there was an encoded secret there that the rest of humankind hadn't quite yet figured out, and there it had been that whole time.
That's wild. Yeah, that's crazy. All right, Nick, how about you?
Probably the most interesting one lately, again, I'm going to go with the book that I'm writing at the moment, which is the new Cat Cromwell book. So I don't want, I'd be giving away the plot if I said what it was, but when you go and ChatGPT says, no, we can't answer that for your own safety. And then you go on the internet and the answer to your query comes up with a bunch of warnings and helplines that it gives you and stuff like that. So research all of a sudden becomes quite difficult. Yeah. I had that for the opening of the new book, where it took a while to get the answers that I needed, because
I'm really intrigued as to what this book is.
You're like, what is he writing about? That is. Not only do they give warnings, a guy in a suit came to his house and said, "We're just checking up on you."
Exactly, you get a knock on the door.
We have a wellness check on.
Yeah, we've got to
we
keep getting calls.
We don't see what's off the screen now. There could be two guys standing at the side of him.
You don't actually see that I'm in a straitjacket. They give me 1 hour of time to report this.
And this is what you do with this clinic. 1 hour.
Yeah. So you've got one phone call.
Exactly. Yeah. What do you got,
guys?
So I'll say my most disturbing one was when I was writing Deep Gold, and I was looking into some white supremacist group, and I was like, I just want to see what. Because I'm not a white supremacist. I just didn't really know how prevalent they were. And I started finding these underground communities within miles of my house that were, I'm like, okay, it's kind of creepy when I started learning about some of the things that are out there. And they'd have there's a huge Nazi conference that comes to, surprisingly, Middle Florida. It's every year. And they keep it on the download. You have to be a part of it to find out where it is and that kind of thing. And so when I learned about that, I was like, okay, that's just wild. And I didn't dig a whole lot further because I didn't want the FBI on. I mean, I already got enough weird stuff on my computer, but I don't want to feed them anymore. But yeah, that was the most disturbing. The most weirdest one I probably looked up was I had a scene in a swingers club, and I tried to like look up because I'd never been to a swingers club. So I was like looking what kind of stuff.
Doug just lied on air.
No.
I think Doug may have been to one. I can guarantee Ashley hasn't.
No, but we don't have a lot of those around here in Tennessee. So.
Well, they're called cousins.
That's Alabama, first of all. And down there, it's it's just a family.
Now Alabama just turned the show off.
No, that was probably the weirdest. Like, but so yeah, you can kind of find some weird stuff. You start searching it. That wasn't overly like interesting. But my most recent book that I just did was I've got a character who's in a wheelchair, but I wanted to give him a really cool, fancy tech wheelchair with like guns, and so it's like a tactical wheelchair. So I basically didn't really so much research it as well. I did research like what you could put into it and what would work. And so I still got like a whole tab of things or like, oh, this would be kind of cool to do. And our good friend Franklin Horton, I don't know if you know Franklin, who writes Post-Apoc, Luke, but he sat with me one day at Nink and we talked about it. He's like, oh, you know what'd be a good idea if you put pneumatic darts on there. And I was like, thanks, Franklin. That's a good idea.
I got to tell you a sidebar story. So we just came off a liveaboard here in Australia. We with Mike Ball Expeditions, who are great, and we did a week going down the Great Barrier Reef. And so the boat we were on was made by it's a powered catamaran. I think it's about 65 feet long. And it's made by a company. I looked on the plate on the wall, and it's made by a company called Aurstal in Australia. I'm like, no way. So in my book, Bloody Bay Rum Club, I invented a boat to ship barrels of rum between the US and Little Cayman. And I needed a boat that was this about the right size and all this stuff. And in my research, I came across these boats that were built to go out to oil rigs, offshore oil rigs and stuff like that. And they took crew out and all the supplies. And they were basically shuttle boats. And it made by this company called Aurstal. And they also make dive boats and expedition boats and stuff. So I used it as the basis, and I literally did a schematic of this boat. So when we're on the boat, I'm like, oh yeah, that door leads down into the to the hull where the crew berths are, and the engine's back here, and I'm underneath diving, looking up at the propellers and stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, the engine's right there. It was really weird. Cool. Yeah, I'd never ever heard of Aurstal before. All right, this was brilliant. Thanks for spending some time with us, Luke. Really appreciate it. Best of luck with your books. I'm excited to dive into one now we've met you.
Thanks so much, gents.
Thank you so much, Luke. Man, he was fun. That was a good time. I think he hits kind of what we both do. We both have location is so important for what we write. I've spent all of my books. I try to make sure that the location's very detailed and immersive. Yours are the same way. Like you're super immersive with the Caymans or wherever you happen to be. That's a good takeaway from what he did. Is just really focusing on that. So.
Yeah, character in the book, right? I mean, it's another character that you lean on.
Just like we talked with Craig Johnson about Wyoming being its own character. It's so important.
And you can hear the way Luke talks about it. I mean, he talks about the smells and the sights and the very tactile. So it comes across that way in his book. So.
Yeah, I think that's important. Like you can't just gloss over it. So make sure that if you're going to talk, I have written about places I've never been, but I do a lot of research on them. I wouldn't just randomly pick, Somalia and not do any research and try to go, well, it's just a bunch of rocks. You want to kind of give it some character. Make sure that wherever you put it, whether it's Arkansas, Cayman, Mexico, you want to make sure that you're taking, you're very authentic. I think that's just important. So. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. So if you guys would come support the show over at Patreon at patreon.com/the Two Authors Podcast. Your super kindness helps us so much covering the cost for the show, but also a big thanks to our supporters and friends over at Vellum. We love the Brads. So make sure you go check out tryvellum.com/the Two Authors to find out more, and you'll find the link in the show notes, as well as Luke's links and our links and any other links. And, check us back in next week.
Until next time, be cool to each other.
And fair winds and following seas.
You've been listening to the Two Authors Podcast with Nicholas Harvey and Douglas Pratt. Subscribe on your favourite platform for new shows coming every week.